Sheesh, so close and yet so far. Every time we make a clearing, there's always one more bunch ready to take a shot at us. Then again, after all the years of training, I really wouldn't have it any other way, Duke thinks, cracking a smile in spite of his fatigue. Prying one of the black ball mecha off of his Redeemer's body, he blows a hole through its red belly. All of a sudden, Duke hears a peculiar sound on his external pickups. Rotating his main camera, the Mechaneer views a massive sandstorm coming straight for him. Brace yourselves! He manages to broadcast just before the first rapid wave of unwieldy wind and rubble tears into the Techians there, those of human and alien origin alike. The strength of the sandstorm is far beyond natural, and some of the Redeemers, especially those that failed to deploy their kinetic shields, suffer considerable damage from the large debris hidden within the particle-filled brown wall of wind. Frantic chatter multiplies on the commune net.
What is this? Where's the enemy? I can't see anything. Duke, 12 o'clock.
Duke catches Rock shouting through the howling wind and commune net static. 5, I'm facing 12 o'clock. It's just sand.
12 o'clock high,
clarifies the sergeant. I'm telling you, I still don't see anything. Oh, shit, are the bewildered words that slip from his tongue as he witnesses the noseless head of the great Sphinx falling from directly above him. Hearing a scream, Rock watches the intact chunk of the historical structure slam into the earth on top of Duke, bringing up a surge of thick sand that causes his own Redeemer to stumble backward.
Duke, come in, soldier.
I'm still here, big guy. Thanks for the heads up. A second more and it might have been lights out for good. Quit jacking around and get out of there. I can't see you on my optical scopes anymore, and there's no telling what else is flying about in this storm.
Forget me. Scan the sandstorm.
What? Why? Is this another one of your hunches? A hesitant Rock utters just before he watches the great Sphinx's head being lifted back into the air, its eyes glowing an ethereal yellow.
That's why.
Duke barks back. Now get to it, Sarge. From my angle, this doesn't look like any ordinary weather phenomenon. You can say that again. I'm on it.
The enemy stopped moving again.
Duke overhears one of the Redeemer pilots announce over the commune net. That's fine, but we've got problems. Much bigger problems, grumbles Duke, able to lift himself from the ground now that his Techian's maimed left arm is no longer pinned by the colossal limestone head. As the second lieutenant gets to his feet, he sees several 10-foot stone fragments and displaced metal barricades set up previously by the EGYU army hurtling toward him. With no time to activate his turbo spear, he desperately grabs onto his limp, ruined left arm, rips it from its socket, and uses it as a club to bat away the debris.
Duke, I've got it, the sergeant announces. This debris definitely has some major psionic power behind it, and you're not going to believe what this sandstorm actually is. I'm sending you the data now.
I'm a little busy to be looking at pictures, Rock. Hurry up and send them, exclaims Duke. He hurls his broken mecha arm like a spinning axe straight for the larger chunk flying toward him now, as he realizes the turbo spear is needed. Sure enough, the tossed makeshift melee item merely puts a dent in the huge slab of stone coming at him, and only his follow-up slash with the turbo spear saves him. The image that loads in the corner of his main screen then is a composite 3D model of the sandstorm, which is in the shape of the world-renowned Great Sphinx, not long ago posted like a sentry by Kaffir's pyramid.
I don't know how these aliens did it, but it looks like they've turned the remains of the Great Sphinx and its temples into a disjointed living weapon,
Rock relates over his private link, hardly able to find the words. So, they brought the Sphinx to us piece by piece and told it to sick us, the former SWAT member spits out, bemused and disturbed to find that his initial hunch was correct. I thought we had him on the run. They must be getting desperate to try a crazy tactic like this.
Hey, I didn't sign up for anything like this, gripes Rock. But now that it's here, we better do something about it, and quick. I suggest we aim for the head. It's the area with the strongest psionic readings.
Seems as good a place to start as any, Duke concurs. I'm with you, Rock. They can throw whatever they want at us, but we're still going to win this battle. Rock and Duke zip away from their persisting, sand-beaten Redeemer allies and the strangely inactive alien mecha toward the head of the supernatural beast. Rock's flaring back boosters carry him within feet of the weathered human face when, suddenly, a streaming cyclone oozes out of the sandstorm conglomeration and swats him aside. Duke boosts ahead, discharging his psionic rifle, while Rock regains his balance on his foot jets. Several whips of thick sand shoot out at that instant and steal the second lieutenant's sidearm. Straining through his impulse suit, Duke's nerves guide his Techian away from a direct blow, and he releases his turbo spear again. Even if those aliens are controlling this storm, it's still just wind and stone to me. Having his melee weapon powered up, he slashes fiercely at the Sphinx's face in wide swings, leaving dark scars on its pale limestone skin. The sand-molded Titan's eyes burn brighter. In response, two large cyclones intersect in front of Duke and bat his mecha back toward the earth with an insurmountable force. "Rock! Blast it with your cannon!" Duke yawps, trying to halt his Techian-class machine's descent. This proves impossible. Another cyclone of blinding sand and debris swallows Duke's Redeemer and refuses to spit the mecha out. While he deploys his kinetic cannon, Rock hears Duke's loud groan of pain, the Redeemer marked 02 having been driven into the earth by the whirlwind. The muscular Armex sergeant breaks away from the strands of sand harassing him, and he gets up close and personal to the weathered face of the Great Sphinx with his readied kinetic cannon. "Open wide, monster, and rest in pieces!" Rock snarls in his gruff bass, unleashing a brilliant kinetic beam that shatters half the psionic demon's skull. The recoil from the blast sends Rock several yards away and has him pressed to the back of his cockpit, but the rewards are not as expected. "This is impossible," are the words that leak from the corners of the sergeant's mouth. The large fragments of rocky cranium and crown bursting away from the head have been suspended in mid-flight, defying all laws of gravity, and are starting to move back toward the sandstorm Sphinx. Rock's brain almost spins out of his head as time seems to rewind before him. The broken limestone pieces put themselves back into place like a jigsaw puzzle, creating a solid structure that looks as if it was never touched. "This time you won't be coming back," he growls past gritted teeth, leveling his kinetic cannon for a more dead center shot. However, the smaller whirlwinds leaping off the living creature of sand subsequently ensnare his machine's arms and legs, pulling them askew before he can make good on his declaration. The impulses coming from Rock cause the Redeemer to squirm and thrash about, but these crazed movements only make the wind tendrils tighten. Catching a glimpse of his left vidscreen, he blinks several times, observing a figure formed from the rope-like sand attempting to saw his kinetic cannon with the earthen blade that is its arm. The humanoid sand being displays a toothless grin as it slithers back into the cord of enchanted particles constricting Rock's Techian infantrymen. Immediately, 8 strands of gritstone zoom out of the sandy mass and begin pummeling his mecha's torso akin to speedily dancing spider legs. His machine's front stained and banged up, the enchanted sand abruptly lets go, but not before the humanoid shapes reappear and dive into the Techian's boosters. In freefall, Rock goes silent and stone-faced, concentrating all of his energy on restoring life to his sand-infested booster engines. The commands of his nerves shoot through the wires linking his body with the machine's Kyphus control network. With mere seconds to spare, the boosters sputter with just enough life to break his fall. The landing is still not very precise. However, quick, accurate responses traveling along his impulse suit save Mad Scorpion 5's Techian from sliding onto its steely rear. Having been forwarded the same radar data as Duke, and after witnessing his teammates' failed attempts at stopping the supernatural alien assault, Elid and the Ranger Unit's leader now pull the enduring Armex forces into a combined kinetic and psionic energy counterattack. The resulting beams of yellow and orange streak into the eerily inky morning skies and through the obscured sand monster there. They leave brief holes, but the sandstorm Sphinx simply reforms. Even headshots are unsuccessful. Spiraling winds spin outward with such force that the beams are filtered or redirected. All at once, the swaying hurricane form making up the sandstorm Sphinx's tail arcs over its back and swoops down on the Armex defenders with a ferocious howl. Elliot turns his Redeemer's head as the supernatural storm bears down on them, and he spots Duke's fallen Redeemer, still motionless and half buried in the sand. That fall must have left him unconscious, Elliot realizes, and he sprints to his teammate's aid. In a braced, defensive crouch in front of Duke's Redeemer, the team commander deploys his kinetic shield and grabs a hold of the downed Techian with his free arm. The instant he does so, the resultant blast from the sandstone sphinx's tail is felt, bowling over the Armex forces like a row of frail pins. Some Techians are sucked into the wild and whirling wind. Others are clawed at by the rushing sand mixed with debris both ancient and modern, alien and terrestrial. Rock, having only caught the corner of the tornado tail, lights his boosters with robust impulses on the Kyphus and once more rockets into the air after the psionic sphinx's solid head. Spinning to avoid the particle-filled wind tentacles as well as the sailing limbs of destroyed Techians and Bions, the sergeant crams his turbo spear into the forehead of the man-beast. He has to keep his boosters going at full output to avoid being blown away by the increasing wind force as he pulls back and raises a mecha fist.
You still want our blood? You haven't had enough?
Rock cries wrathfully, bringing down his Redeemer's hand into a potent punch against the beast's upper cheek. Like the turbo spear, the metal hand smashes into the stone and gets stuck there.
Whatever you are, whatever you're after, you don't belong in this world. Too many good soldiers have died out here. Stop spilling our blood,
Rock commands, putting an additional thrust of boost power behind his other hand's punch, which sails into the earthen demon's glowing left eye. The Armex sergeant's machine, trapped on the mythical monster's face, begins convulsing madly. The raw psionic energy from the pierced eye is circulating through his Redeemer and into his body via the impulse wires, giving him the strangest of shocks. He manages to disengage the Kyphus, the wires retracting, but Rock's eyes sting, and he sees an odd, shimmering symbol. It appears to be a wide, concave-sided triangle without a bottom. In its center is a circle. Under that circle, 3 gradually thickening lines curve inward from the left. The curious glyph only grows larger in his vision, sucking his body into its brilliance. As it gets closer to him, or he closer to it, Rock cannot be certain which. It strikes him that the symbol resembles an abstract pyramid like those that were in the surrounding area. The symbol morphs into a pyramid then, and, in a flash of radiance, Rock sees the Great Sphinx's head again, glowering at him as blackness surrounds them. His mind seemingly trapped in another dimension, the burning glyph reappears in his eyes, and once more he is sucked into it. Suddenly, the sergeant experiences a sickening vertigo, and he witnesses the sandy desert below him. The unmoving black ball mecha are there, half buried in sand and holding out their long arms and clawed hands in a gesture akin to prayer. Only, now Rock notices there is a glowing aura around each of them that is the same color as the Great Sphinx's possessed eyes. The alien mecha fade away then, and the symbol returns to sight, pulsating like an amplified heartbeat. The 2 images alternate back and forth before the stinging sensation ebbs, and Rock's natural eyesight is restored. Breathing erratically, goose pimples encasing his flesh, Rock is in a state of panic from the near-epileptic mental imagery. He manually activates his back boosters and tears himself free from the Sphinx's face, leaving behind his mecha's lodged hands, along with the turbo spear in its limestone skin. The Armex sergeant is tumbling again, but his cloudy head has trouble coordinating the manual operations necessary to stabilize his machine for a landing. His body is rattled as he impacts against something, but it is thankfully not the ground. Rock is slowly carried to the earth by another Redeemer painted dark green and white.
Lead 5, this is Ranger 1. Are you okay in there?
I think so. I appreciate the catch, Ranger 1. Rock replies to the leader of the largest unit remaining aside from his own.
Howard, take charge.
Ranger 1, Lieutenant Rashid Del Cid, hollers to his core team sergeant in interruption. You've got to take out those alien mecha. That's the only way to beat this monster, relates Rock.
What? How do you know that? Are you certain?
I don't really know, but we aren't getting anywhere, and people are still dying, Rock says, righting his machine with the CTS and foot pedals while working on shaking off the persisting stars in his pounding head. It's a long shot, but I had better be right about this.